Yeah, we'll get started. This presentation is called 9 Years of Party Building. It's about the organizing that we've done in Pittsburgh.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Yes, absolutely. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, great. This presentation is about the organizing that we've done in Pittsburgh about in the past about 10 years. And we'll introduce ourselves. Can you go first?
Yeah. I'm Riley Mahan. I'm an alternate delegate from the Green Party of Pennsylvania to the Green Party of the United States National Committee. For a while, I was one of the Young Eco-Socialist delegates to the National Committee. I've been on the Allegheny County Green Party's Executive Committee since like 2022. I'm founder, co-president of Young Eco-Socialists of Point Park University. I've worked on a couple different green campaigns. You can read it, it's up there. Yeah. Currently the working groups coordinator.
And I'm Jason Walker. I'm the neighborhood groups coordinator of the Green Party of Allegheny County. And I got connected because I saw a Facebook ad. And I went to a meeting from a Facebook ad. That was in 2017. And now here I am today. Woo! Okay, so we've broken down the past 9 years into like different kind of eras. Each of these eras had like different groups of people with a lot of overlapping people throughout them. We took on different kinds of actions, did different kinds of party building things. And the idea, we're using this metaphor of like kind of catching fire, sort of like, we were building over time, but it's not always like an upward build, so you'll see what that means. Some of the things we did was we started rebuilding the party. In 2017, the party was meeting once a month, maybe like 5 or so people. All people who had been in the party for at least a decade, like a really long time. Not a lot of energy, not a lot of stuff happened between meetings. We ran a few campaigns that we learned a lot about, and we started just like gathering the Green Party members in the city, and then kind of recruiting some new Green Party members. So one of the consistent activities that we really were on was this protest called Stop Making the Bomb. It was a once, sometimes twice a month, picket in front of PNC Bank to try to pressure them to divest from nuclear weapons investments. It was a pretty simple action. It was like 1 hour. It was honestly like a little bit of like an activist social hour, but it was really important because it sort of got us started doing something, for month after month after month, we were just like talking. Honestly, our meetings were made up of like complaining about local Democratic Party members. But this got us out onto the streets. It gave us something to invite new people to join us at. And it was really important for our early development because this was like one of our main activities, during that time. One thing you'll notice is that we have a banner. We got that made around this time. That was really important. And we're all wearing like t-shirts, like Riley has here. That really helped us build sort of like a communal identity. In Pittsburgh, there were lots of people who were registered Greens, but it was not their first identity. It was like their 5th identity. So they were involved in like all sorts of parts of the activist community in Pittsburgh. And one of the things we were trying to do is to kind of like bring them together and build our party identity and say like, we care about all of these things, but we also are trying to build this political party that's going to hopefully work to fight for these things. So the shirt and the banner really helped with that. And then we also sort of like forced people to take photos together. And that also really helped, making us feel like a little bit more of a cohesive unit. Okay. Here's some more photos. You'll see our shirts, our banner. The Stop Making the Bomb campaign was like a coalition of lots of groups. So you'll see PSL was there. There was like an anti-war group. And so they had really good like branded campaign things, which honestly helped with like organizational tension because it felt like we were all like united for the campaign, as opposed to like repping our own brands the whole time, So that was really nice. They made those. Yeah, this is like, these pictures are from over the years. There were some bigger events where like when the treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons was signed, we had a big event for that. And then also there were like PNC shareholder meetings, so we would have bigger actions for that too. But it was a campaign that that was consistently going for many of our early years. that we were really able to like hang on to, which was helpful. Yeah. Okay, so what were some of our action related issues based campaigns? So one of our early campaigns was I ran for Pennsylvania House in 2018. I learned that okay, the trajectory, I guess, was 2016, the election happened, and I was like, oh God, like this is a big problem. And then I started kind of being like, how can I get more involved locally, politically? And I got kind of linked in with some grassroots Democrats. And then I learned about gerrymandering. And then I learned that our state rep was there for 20 years and he was not supportive of redistricting reform. He was like, the Democrats are going to control the gerrymander next, and we're going to gerrymander the shit out of the Republicans. And I was like, this is kind of fucked. Like, I had a problem with that. I was like, someone should run against him. I probably asked like 10 people to run against him. And then I was like, okay, I will do it. Originally, I was trying to do it as a Democrat, but then I was like, and I was going to Green Party meetings too, but I was like, well, if I'm trying to win, I got to do it as a Democrat. And then I realized like there was no way I was going to win, regardless of how I ran. So I was like, I would rather run as a Green so that we can build our party. You know, like if winning is not on the table, it doesn't matter that running in the primary is like easier than running in the general. And I'm really happy with that decision. At the time, I was kind of like, but now looking back, I'm like, that was a great choice. Okay, so you can see some of the stats. We did a little bit of door knocking, like maybe like 2 sessions of door knocking with like 5 volunteers. We raised a tiny bit of money, you know, yeah, we had 10 volunteers. Okay, so that was one of our campaigns. Another one of our campaigns, we had Tara Yaney run for Edgewood Council. So this was kind of an interesting situation. We had an intern for a little bit in this time. I'm trying to think, like he went to the University of Pittsburgh. We met him through organizing around ICE back then, and you know, we kind of hit it off. And he helped us like analyze the primary results in Allegheny County. And he like identified every race where there weren't enough candidates in the primary so that there would be like a vacancy. So what happened was there was like 5 different areas. I called people I knew in those areas, mostly through Ultimate Frisbee, which is my other big hobby. And I was like, hey, do you want to run for your council? And then switch to the Green Party. And then one person said yes, and that was Tara Yaney. So we got like 10 people to write her name in. There was like 3 spots on the ballot for like Democrats, I think. There were only 2 candidates filed because the local Democratic committee was like, we like the Republican, like we're cool with them. So we basically like mounted a write-in campaign. We got like 10 people that we knew to write her in. So then she took the 3rd Democratic spot, and then she won in the general against the Republican. But we got her to switch to Green before the general election. So we kind of like snuck our way into this, which was good because we had no capacity at this time. Like literally the capacity was like calling people on the phone. That was it. Yeah, so she won. She was elected council, 4-year term, switched to Green. She's our only Green Party elected official. Yeah, so that was kind of like small, tiny steps. We went to a lot of Edgewood Council meetings though at that time. So that was interesting to learn what that is really like. All those people in the council, they don't know that much. They don't know that much. You know, it felt very like doable. She got very confident going into it because she was like, these people are just like me. They're just neighbors, you know? So that was good. Okay. We also tried to run a countywide slate. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I was brand new at this time. I think this was like the first project that I worked on. Oh, we forgot about my campaign. I ran for school board in 2019. I don't want to talk.
There were no
about it.
pictures. It didn't happen because there were no pictures. That's how we know we need to take pictures.
Yeah, so basically we had this idea that we were going to run a full slate of candidates for all of the countywide positions that were up that year. And we were not going to campaign for any of them. They were all going to be paper candidates, but people were going to see that we fielded all these candidates and we're going to be super impressed. And then we didn't get them on the ballot. So people didn't see that. And it was kind of just a waste of time and energy. So that was a valuable lesson, I feel, to not do things without a plan. We didn't learn that lesson immediately this time, but like looking back on it, we could have.
Well, we have to learn the lesson a few times.
Well,
That's
yeah.
boring.
Eventually we got it.
One more thing I'll say is like, we we were not even close. Like, we were not even close to gathering the signatures we needed. I think we needed like, it was,
5,000.
yeah, it was about the same amount that we needed, last year.
Which is the same amount we need for governor.
How many was it?
5,000.
5,000 good signatures. It's like a percentage of the total votes in the county.
Hmm.
And there's like 1.6 million people in our county.
Okay.
Yeah.
The guarantee.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so these are some things that we felt were important during this period, this era. The first thing we did was we started inviting people to things directly. So there was always an email list. Emails did get sent out to the list, but they weren't really getting anybody out. What really started changing that is we would be like, hey, you should come to this thing with me, you know? It sounds very simple, but it was pretty game changing. And it didn't have to be in person, you know, you could text them. A lot of our older members, they worked, like calling them worked really well. And it was like, we were not sending out a mass text. We were not sending out a group text. We were sending out a personal text to someone that we knew and had like somewhat of a relationship with. Maybe we met them at a protest or something like that. But we were not doing, honestly, we were like almost doing no mass outreach at all. We were just doing direct outreach. We would be like, 10 people, we'll invite them to come to this thing. We knew whether they were coming or not. There was never any like, I hope people show up, because everyone that came, we knew they were coming, you know? But I think that was really important. That's something that we, you know, still use to this day. And yeah, we use a spreadsheet to track it. I'm not sure where we used to track it back then, actually, because the spreadsheet stuff came in a little later.
I feel like we always had some kind of spreadsheet, but for a while it was just a spreadsheet of people you knew, more or less.
Okay, yeah.
I think this was around the time where we tried to formalize it a little bit more.
Yeah. This photo is from a phone bank we did, just kind of unrelated. But yeah, the calling people. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm talking about during this time because this was kind of like before Riley got involved. But yeah, I'd like to stop banking the bomb. The real big thing we did in the beginning, when we had like no major campaign going on, we just went to things together on the issues that we cared about. But we were really intentional about it. We weren't like, hey, Liz, this event's coming up. You might want to check it out. We're like, hey, you, me, that person, 3 other people, we should all go to this thing together at this time. And then let's get a drink or a bite afterwards. And if there's gonna be like 5 to 10 of us, we should wear our Green Party shirts. If it's gonna be 2 of us, we shouldn't wear a Green Party shirt. We were kind of like incognito. Like seriously, this was like, we would like be like, how many people are we going with? If it's a significant group, we'll go as a group. If it's not, we're just going as regular people that are connected to this group, you know? Okay, lessons during this first era. This is kind of like a look at who was, like, these are the main people that are involved in this first era. This is like 2018 at a fracking protest.
Look how short his hair is.
Yeah, so we invited people directly. We showed up to events together. So you see, we all like are wearing our shirts. This is very coordinated. This is not an accidental thing. We made a plan to all show up in our Green Party shirt. It sounds really lame. Like, it honestly sounds lame, but people were like, oh, the Green Party is here. Cool. Whereas before, people didn't even know the Green Party existed, you know? So it was a good set. But again, like, if there were less than 5 of us, would not have worn our shirts, because then we just look kind of sad. And, yeah.
Very true.
Okay, these are some various photos from that time. There's really not that many. This was before we were like really intentional about taking photographs. But I don't think we say it anywhere in this. Well, actually, it's on the next slide. Wait, before we go to the next slide, let me just see. Yeah, we had some socials. Oh yeah, Justin Beth, he's a green from Maine. He came to Pittsburgh. He was like, hey, I'm coming to Pittsburgh. And we're like, great. This is a great excuse for us to get our people together. If he didn't tell us he was coming, we wouldn't have this awesome event, you know? There were some new greens that came.
I was one of them. This was the first thing I came to.
So like someone else like reached out to us saying they're going to be in town, and it helped catalyze our party. You know, it helped us. Yeah, we went to a bunch of pride marches. We went to a bunch of marches in our green shirt, marching behind our banner. And like every time we had one of those marches, we would invite people to come with us. You know, that was big, especially like newer people. Yeah, just putting people on the email list was not good enough. It was not good enough. This 2017 state party meeting, that was my first event. That was the thing I saw the Facebook event for. That's like a pretty big moment for me. And yeah, tabling. This guy on the bottom right, Garrett, he was like the rock back then. Like we would not be where we are if it wasn't for his work, so give him a shout out. Okay. So, wait a second, one more thing. We should pause for some comments.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have any questions or comments about this first era? Or,
Love it. And I've learned some things from you, we talked about before. I think the outreach, the personal outreach and phone calls are important. And the intentionality, I think, of showing up as a group of Greens for the minimal. I've tried to do that in New York. It's mostly me. So it's a bigger, no offense, a bigger
yeah, sure,
political
geographical and,
fishbowl.
yes.
And it's a lot of competing things, so almost like to show up with 5 or 6 screens is cool, but then they're like 25 PSL professionally made sign from some expensive printer, right? So
Yeah.
fine. So I guess I'm looking here for a little bit of like, are we still on the right track, still trying to do that in a much bigger political milieu where I think it's much more, I'm assuming, I've not been in Pittsburgh, but assuming it's that competitiveness. But I do think that the approach, we've been trying to do a little bit of that. I think we need to be more intentional. And so I really kind of appreciate era 1, looking forward to era 2. Yeah.
Okay, I'll say something, and I'll give you a chance to say something. Real quick, my feeling lately is that it's easier to grow the Green Party in like the second city in your state.
Yeah.
The first city, everyone is going ham on the first city. Like every group is super organized. They got offices, they got paid organizers. Like Pittsburgh is just easier territory than Philly. Like that's just the truth. Many people are unorganized, right? But the thing is, New York City and Philadelphia are really big also. Lots of unorganized people there too. I think, we're not trying to compete for the people that are organized by other groups. I think a lot of people we brought to our group are like new, like maybe they're new to the area, they're new to organizing, activism. And then the second thing I'll say is that it was like pulling teeth to get the longtime groups to come to anything. They never wanted to go to anything. But they had been organizing for 10 years before us, and we had just started. So we were like really energetic. They were burnt the hell out. So I kind of gave up on them. Like I would still invite them, and I think they appreciated that. But like a lot of people were getting to come out were like newer people, And I'm sure you're struck, like a lot of people in New York Greens are like longtime Greens, and they don't want to do that much.
Including me.
Yeah. No, I believe that. But if someone invited you to go do something, you would strongly consider it, right? Yeah. So like, we just kind of gave up on the longtime groups. Like we invited them, we told them what we were doing, but they were not coming to stuff. And they're getting older, so what do you think?
Oh, I don't have much to add.
One other question, when you're going to, say, a protest or to an event, because I know you said events as well, are you going to events held by, for example, I'm from Chicago, so we had a theory of going to some of the environmental groups, kind of town halls, and it would have been nice to wear shirts if I would have shirts. But are you going to 501c3s? I know that's like a touchy subject with them. Did you get any pushback with that? Or did you care?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about a funny thing where like we were petitioning in front of a 501c3 event, and they were like, "You can't do that here," and it's like we're on the sidewalk, and the person like called the cops, and the cops were like, "What's up?" And we're like told them what we were doing, and he was like, "All right, that's cool." But the funny thing about that is then I went on to work for that 501c3, so like that person was my coworker,
Nice.
and I was like, "Hey, you remember that 20 times that you called the cops on me?" Okay, so. My first thought is, I think environmentalists are like the last person they're going to be on board. They're like, it's so wild. It's so wild. Like we're in Pennsylvania, frat country, The environmentalists are so in the Kool-Aid. They're so lost in the sauce, Like they will take any scrap the liberal Democrats will give them ever. So the environmentalists, they're not gonna be the first ones, you know, they're gonna be the last ones. That's kind of my general thought about the environment.
What's your recommendation for,
To that point. like,
yeah, go ahead, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
just to that point, I worked for another 501c3 for a while and they love Josh Shapiro. They would not stop talking about how much they love Josh Shapiro, how much they've worked with him so closely before in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to do a little bit of entryism, it didn't really work.
Okay, what are some of the best groups to approach, or what are some of the best protests to go to then?
Kelly, you
I was just.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm friends with them.
Did you guys have a mic? Should you come-
Yeah, you can come up here. This one
I
does
guess
not
the
work.
question-
You guys can come up to the front.
Well, can the people on the Zoom hear people from the audience? I didn't even think of that.
There's a microphone here, I don't know how.
That's not working, yeah.
Okay, something's not microphone to learn.
I'll repeat the questions, that's all.
Hello, so Angela was asking what events would we recommend going to when the environmentalists are maybe not cooperating as much because of the political stuff. I would say all the social justice aspects of the Green Party, like, sure, environmentalism is one of our 4 pillars, but there are 3 other pillars. Anyone who's working on social justice things, we showed up at, you're gonna see it in the next era, but a lot of like BLM protests, you know, Medicare for all of the issues that we care about that are aside from the environment, which are a lot of them. Especially anti-corruption, that's one that we are working really closely with. March on Harrisburg is just an example. So any organization that is like friendly with our values is something that we can go to. So if your big thing is environmentalism, that might be tough. But if you're also like, oh, what about the social justice pillar? See what events are out there that would be welcoming to the Green Party.
Okay. We do have, oh, go ahead.
Anti-war.
Oh,
Yeah,
anti-war.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
We do have one more question online. Do you want to say something before I?
Yeah,
Hey, we'll get to it later.
I'll say something. Yeah, I was gonna say anti-war, like the stop making the bomb was like explicitly an anti-war thing. You know, we were like hanging out with PSL a lot. They're like really clear-eyed about the Democratic Party, you know, so that was good.
What was that?
PSL, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. What's that?
What did you say about that?
They're very clear-eyed about the Democratic Party. Like, I think they understand, like they share a similar view that we do about the Democratic Party. And then, okay, so I'm thinking about the pillars, grassroots democracy. We've had a lot of success with like some government reform people. A lot of the government, I would say 75% of the government reform people are, again, they're too lost in the sauce. They're trying to work the like political system. They're getting scraps from the table. But there's one group, they're called March on Harrisburg, and they're like super good about calling out the Democrats and Republicans equally because they know in Harrisburg, they're like shaking hands on corruption. Like they're like very dually complicit, like scratching each other's back, that kind of stuff. So we really appreciate them and they're really supportive of us, which is good.
We've also just, as you'll see in later slides here, we've done a pretty good job of like having good relationships with other socialist groups in Pittsburgh in general. And part of that has been like, we've been lucky that a lot of the Pittsburgh chapters are more radical than the national organizations in many cases. But also a part of it is just like all of this, like we show up and they know we show up and they expect us to show up. So it's kind of like dispelled this idea in their mind that a lot of people have that Greens don't show up.
Okay.
And we have good personal relations.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Beth, did you have any question? Beth?
No, actually, I was just going to point out that my memory of when I first joined the Greens was a lot of peace march activities and a fair number of Black Lives Matter type activities.
Thank you, Beth.
One thing I wanted to add real quick about the environmental thing. I do think a lot of environmentalists are like the last people that are going to join the Green Party, unfortunately. But a lot of the environmental employees are in the Green Party now. Like we've got, you know, it helps that I work for an environmental nonprofit. Another green leader works for environmental nonprofit, but it's like they're working in the field. They can see what's happening. It's very clear what is happening. And they are like, yeah, this is screwed. Like, this is screwed. Their whole nonprofit is like designed around begging these Democrats to do something. And they're like, this obviously isn't working. So, yeah, we've got a good contingent of environmental nonprofits that are members. They're not like, active, but they'll come knock on doors once in a while, Yeah. Yeah.
What about the marijuana legalization movement or groups?
Okay, so you just asked about the marijuana legalization as an issue. That does exist in Pittsburgh. I think they're skeptical of us. We've made no attempt to connect with them. Yeah.
It's also a little bit hard there because that's been one of the things that Pittsburgh Democrats like to talk about to like posture.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's hard for us to find a lane there. Like John Fetterman's whole thing before everybody realized how evil he was that like he likes weed and like other than in prison before. So like it's been hard for us to carve out a niche there, I feel.
That doesn't work well for us.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, era 2, 2020 and 2021. I mean, one big thing about this is COVID started. That really changed what was happening for us. Yeah, there were big George Floyd protests as well. We were involved in this Protect Our Parks campaign. Okay, I'm trying not to just read the slide. Let me see. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it up. Leave it up for you guys to read.
Okay.
It's a little small.
Oh, no, yeah.
It's like code.
All right.
Let's just read the highlighted one.
Sure. All right, our campaigns. I ran for Pennsylvania House again. We tried pretty hard about that. We had an even bigger campaign for Pittsburgh City Council. Yeah, moving to Zoom was big. Campaigning during COVID sucked. That was tough. Yeah, we were going to other groups' events. Yeah, it was just sort of like, we call this era Blaze because we just started growing more. We started growing. Yeah, a lot of people joined during this time. A lot of people were active today, so to say.
The big lessons that we learned here was that we can do it. We can like run viable, high profile local campaigns. We can like successfully lobby local politicians who are already in office. And by lobby, I mean scare them enough that they like capitulate. We can do all of this. It's possible, but it's really hard. And we can't rely on the efforts of like a handful of the same volunteers every time. We need to like build organizational infrastructure that is not reliant on any given person holding those positions.
Yeah. Okay, so like many activists all around the country, everyone was coming out. We were all coming out. That was a good way to get people who are like, they cared about these issues, to get them off their couch, So we were kind of like inviting people who maybe wouldn't have gone otherwise, or at least saying like, come with us, maybe they would have just been there by themselves. So yeah, we were going to a lot of protests. There were a lot of protests and we were going to a lot of protests. And, it was kind of like towards the end of COVID shutdown. People were like at home when they were not in a protest, a lot of people. So there was a lot of willingness to go to protests. Yeah. So that was one of the activities that we were engaged in as a party. So I included here. Okay, this is more of a prolonged campaign that we were in. It was led by a nonprofit, environmental nonprofit, that I would say is a little more clear-eyed about the situation. Like they're really clearly anti-fracking. Whereas other environmental nonprofits, I think recently they're being more clear about being against fracking. But before they were like, fracking is a bridge fuel, like Sierra Club. They were, sort of like complicit, I would say. But Food and Water Watch, I feel like, has been very clear about fracking, at least as long as I've known them. So they were organizing this coalition. This guy in the front, where holding this fracking is sign. He was like going into coalition meetings. He was the kind of like liaison we had with the coalition. We were going to county council meetings, so that's what this photograph is from. We were knocking on doors in the districts of swing voters on the county council. And it was kind of like, yeah, it was a combo Green Party and nonprofit effort. And then there was like some grassroots environmentalists too.
Can I tell the Tom Dewar story? I love the Tom Dewar story.
Sure.
So, the final like swing vote was this guy, Tom Dewar, who represented my district, well, my district at the time. And Jay and I, for completely unrelated reasons, were like door knocking the neighborhood that I grew up in. And we went to the mall for lunch, and Tom Dewar is there. And I just approach him at the food court while he's like eating his pizza and start grilling him on this. And he's like laughing so uncomfortably. And he's like, well, county council people don't usually get recognized, so I'm not really used to this. We were like, yeah. And he kept saying things like, the reason I'm against, the reason I'm ambivalent towards this legislation. So that was fun. But he cited that conversation in a later council meeting as like a reason why he was flipping his vote to be for the ban. And a really cool thing about this whole campaign was that this was either the first or the second time in Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive at the time, 3 terms, this was like his 11th year in office, that county council actually overrode his veto. And yes, he did veto the ban on fracking in county parks, and yes, he is a Democrat. But yeah, council overruled him for the first time because of the efforts that this coalition has.
So this was one of our wins.
Yeah.
We were part of a coalition, but we put in a good bit of effort. Yeah, these are like all greens in this photo, which is cool. Okay, so I ran for Pennsylvania House in 2020. I'm trying to think like what the timing of is of the pandemic be like starting in the United States and like us starting the campaign. I don't, it's like hard to remember the exact timing, but
I remember because they let me out of senior year of high school early for this, which was this year. So like it was around the start of campaign season that everything shut down.
but did we already launch the campaign?
No, I remember we were wearing masks, right? Because Kelly, you organized it.
All right.
Yeah, this says volunteer campaign manager. This is the volunteer campaign manager, Kelly.
Well, no. Yeah, I was also the treasurer for our county party at that time, and then ran for chair the next year and won, and then I burned out. But so during this campaign, that was the height of COVID.
Yeah.
So, February, March of 2020 is when things started to look sketchy, and that's really when we were starting to gear up because we seem incapable of preparing more than a year in advance. But that's another story. So, that's really when we could start petitioning to get Jay on the ballot. Is in March.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
March is when the shutdown really started. So we hadn't even done a campaign launch. And then everything was shut down. So by summer, I want to say end of June was our actual campaign kickoff event because that was the first time we were allowed to have an event in public and it had to be outdoors. Everyone was wearing masks. It was a very new experience for everyone involved. So that made it really hard. And we still got through it and it delayed the timeline for everyone, which maybe gave us a little bit of an advantage.
Right.
Yes. Other campaigns weren't able to do anything for the first 4 months of campaign season either. So it kind of leveled the playing field for us because we were just getting started on it and everyone was figuring it out as we went. So that helped a bit, I think. A little. It's a silver lining.
The guy you're running
still,
at
campaign. He didn't
at all,
campaign.
so.
It was still a very difficult campaign season. March through June, we just could not do things. We couldn't even door knock to talk to people. We were just lit dropping. We were putting papers on people's porches.
Boo. You can't win votes that way.
Yeah. So I just came up to clarify on that situation. I'll let them continue.
Thank you. We have a good lot of momentum going into this, which is why it sucked that there was a global pandemic going on. Because we had a lot of volunteers. All of these volunteers were like really jazzed up and they were like just dropping lit, and it's like we're not really convincing people to vote for me by dropping lit. yeah, I raised money. I just like, I did what we're supposed to do as a candidate. I just like called through all of my contacts and asked them to donate $100, something like that. So that's how we raised most of that money. But that's good. We definitely need to do that more. Yeah, I got 14.6% of votes. It's fine. 4,000 votes, I guess. The district is like 60,000 people. So I think one of the lessons is that the Pennsylvania House is like really big. Like those districts are really large. We need to have like hundreds. Oh, I wrote hundreds of volunteers. No, we had 100 plus volunteers, maybe like 105, 110. We need hundreds of volunteers to win a Pennsylvania House district, and we need to raise like $50,000. Like, there's no way $10,000 is enough. Like, we need to raise way more money. Just because there's so many people. So like, we have a lot of volunteers going out there. We touch a lot of parts of the district, but it's got to be a lot more serious if we're going to be serious about a district of this size. At least that's kind of how we felt. Like a lot of us, I think there's like consensus around that feeling. I think. Would you say that there's consensus? You believe that also? Okay, yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, the communication coordinator. That person was a friend of someone that helped on the campaign, and he was like a professional communication person, and he really stepped up the level of the website, the t-shirts, the flyers, like everything. Actually, the flyer was good. We had a donor in 2018 to make it, but yeah, he really helped. He was big. He ran the social media, like that was really important.
That was huge. I agree.
Okay, here's some pictures from the campaign. We're all masking outside. We're all wearing. Kelly ordered like a ginormous box of protective equipment that was like masks, hand sanitizer, rubber gloves, like all of this stuff.
Pens, so no one had to.
Oh yeah. Every signature, we like got a new pen and we would like wipe them off. It was a terrible time. It was a terrible time. I guess the pandemic still goes. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're just gonna play this campaign ad to introduce this guy.
Toy manufacturer.
Michael Beck scanning.
Blair Call Center, Pullman Standard, Quaker State. We all know the names of the big plant.
Okay, let me just try. I'm gonna put it on. Oh, I missed the full screen, but I just saw it.
That used to employ us.
And turn off the volume.
Toy
To
manufacturer.
do it on
Yeah.
video, so
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
I tried to do it by myself.
That's okay, thank you.
The Blair Call Center, Pullman Standard, Quaker State. We all know the names of the big plants that used to employ us.
I'm pausing it. I'm gonna just see if there's anything I can do.
Speaker.
Yes, that's a great question.
Optimize share computer sound. Maybe I can try stereo, sharing computer sound stereo.
Really good. Voice drops, the end of every sentence too.
Yeah, like a master fader or something like that.
And maybe that's a lesson to learn your candidate.
You want me to test it?
Okay, go ahead.
Toy manufacturer, the Blair Call Center, Pullman Standard, Quaker State. We all know the names of the big plants that used to employ us, our families, and our friends. We all know the names of the smaller stores and businesses where the cashier knew our name and the owner lived just a few houses down. Each day seems to bring news of yet another closing or a moving away. We all know someone is hurting right now. Maybe that person's you. We've all heard the same lines from politicians saying they're fighting for us, but seem far more concerned with the interests of those who write their checks. Maybe that's why they vote to subsidize the fossil fuel industry that tears up our land, poisons our water, and ships all our profits out to Wall Street. I'm not a politician. I'm a retired teacher. I'm a career-long union man. I'm an organizer who has spent the last 10 years traveling around this state, rallying communities against exploitive corporations. I'm a husband, a father, and a grandfather. I'll never take a dime of corporate money, and I'll never put anything above the interests of the hardworking people of our community. We need someone we can count on to fight for a new generation of high-paying 21st century jobs guaranteed to every person who needs one. We need Medicare for all because we can't live without health care. We need to hold corporations accountable for the damage they do to the environment, to our health, and to the health of our children. We need someone who will fight for our civil liberties, for our education, and for our unions. My name is Michael Bagdis Canning, and I'm running to represent the working people of PA 64 in the Pennsylvania House, and I approve this message.
Okay,
Yeah, so Michael is a member of the Cherry Valley Borough Council for like decades. He's the mayor now. But yeah, he ran for a state rep in an area that was basically a one-party Republican area. And what we kind of learned from canvassing here is that like there's so much of the country where we don't have a two-party system, we have a one-party system, and that causes all the politicians to just not contest elections, even the ones in the party that's dominant, they don't bother because they know they don't have to most of the time. And there's a lot of opportunity for us in those areas to take over like local unopposed councils. But we need to build the infrastructure and capacity first because we were not able to like provide the support to this campaign that this campaign deserved. And I think it got something like 20% of the vote, which is not terrible, but in a two-way race, that isn't like that much better than like how a Democrat would do in a statewide race in Wyoming, and we want to do better than that, right? So, yeah, this was a really good campaign. This is a really great candidate. The lesson learned is just that we need to prepare more, and we need to have more infrastructure to support the great candidates when they appear. You have anything else to?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
oh no,
Nice. Yeah, and then so this was our really big campaign that we did. This guy Connor Mulvaney ran for city council in Pittsburgh in 2021. We built a pretty awesome coalition behind him actually. Partly because the Democrat he was running against was just such an asshole, but also because we demonstrated pretty quickly, pretty early on that this was a serious campaign. Like we were locked in, we were raising money, we were door knocking, we were cutting turf to like keep track of doors that we've knocked already. We got a coalition together of the Democratic Socialists of America, Party for Socialism and Liberation, Socialist Alternative, the Working Families Party, Sunrise Movement, and Sierra Club all endorsed this candidate and helped us like canvass for him. We got about 800 like identified supporters that we had like talked to directly, confirmed, made a plan that they were going to vote for him. And we ended up getting about 2,500 votes, which was just under a third of the vote in this general election. And we did this with like a 6-person campaign team when none of us had like really run a serious campaign like to this degree before. We raised $13,000. And the lesson we learned from this is that we can absolutely win these races. It's completely doable. We just need to, again, be more prepared, and it can't fall all on the shoulders of such a small group of people. So this campaign, as much as it was like a really galvanizing success in a lot of ways, it did really burn us out, and it kind of left us like not sure where to go next. But like I've always since then held on to this idea that like we could have won this race, and there's going to be similar races in the future in a one-party town like Pittsburgh that we can win if we take away the right lessons from these sorts of, midway between successes and failures that we've had in the past.
One thing I'll say real quick is that this was the most conservative district in Pittsburgh, and there were like Connor Mulvaney signs next to Trump signs, like in various parts of the district. So that was really interesting. The other thing I'll say is we have this big coalition of all these people. Most of these orgs did like nothing. They did nothing. And our idea was like, if they did, I'm not gonna say anything, if they really pitched in, if they're serious about their endorsement, like we would have won the race. We would have won this election.
DSA and Sunrise helped, but like the rest of them.
Yeah,
put their
like
name on it.
Sunrise, Social Alternative, they like maybe did like one door knocking day, like a few people came out. DSA ran our phone bank though, that was huge. Because we have people from all across the country dialing in, calling voters in the district. Greens from all across the country. So that was really helpful. Just like a tech and then running the phone bank was big. But yeah, it was like, we were like within striking distance, sort of 31%, the other guy didn't get 50%. He got like, what, like 45 or something like that. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. And we actually, this guy actually did face a credible primary challenger too, and we got like an equivalent amount of percent vote to her, but we got more raw votes total than she did, which was pretty cool. So, yeah.
No,
Yeah, so I guess the big takeaways, the big lessons from era 2 were that we bit off a little bit more than we could chew, for where we were at the time. PA House districts are massive, 60,000 voters. That's like almost as big as like a UK Parliament seat district. We needed to build a much bigger base of volunteers, and we need to focus on that rather than focusing on like recruiting candidates. We need to pivot to local. State representative is like kind of out of our reach at the moment, and we need to take anybody who would be running for state rep and have them run for a local race that they can win. If it's a year where we can do that. Coalition building is absolutely possible. Like there's Greens have, or other organizations have like prejudices against the Green Party, but you can overcome those by like showing up and demonstrating competence to them directly, instead of just, telling them. Yeah, and yeah.
So, okay, we talked a lot about campaigns, but we did like a lot of going to actions during this time too. That was part of the burnout, was we were going to like a lot of actions and then we were doing a lot of campaigning, and it was not leaving a lot of time for the other parts of our lives. But one of the things we were doing is we were going to DC a bunch, because they were like, the Green Party US were like, we're going to endorse this national DC action. And I was like, okay, great. Like, we're all going to go to DC and we'll meet all of you other Greens in DC for this action we nationally endorsed. And after like a few times, at first we were like, okay, we didn't give people enough notice. We didn't tell people about that. Then we were like, okay, we did give people a lot of notice. Like, we really did our due diligence. And we're like having trouble finding people in Washington, DC or in Virginia. And we were like, hey guys, like we endorse this national thing. Like, why don't we meet in DC? It's like less than an hour from you, right? And we were like, we couldn't find people. So we kind of realized that a lot of state parties have kind of withered, in the same way that we have been withering also. Like, those Greens that were involved for 10 years would not be traveling in DC for a nationally coordinated action, right? But we also discovered this around the state too. Like, we were like, okay, let's all meet in Harrisburg for this big protest. And it was like, no one came. We're like, no one came. So we were realizing that trying to link up with other groups like us was like not really happening. So that was kind of like one of the lessons during this era. Yeah. There's a lot of pictures of us in action. We just haven't like compiled the slides. Oh, wait. All right, we can take 2 questions or comments in this section. Anyone have any thoughts?
I'm sorry, go ahead. You had your hand up.
I was gonna say, so like, I think the stigma too, like with, like when you're involved in like other, because a lot of people are involved in like other, political like, unions and things like that. So I guess you have to like overcome like a lot of stigma. Do you like immediately tell people, hey, I'm a Green Party member, or you kind of wait until you like establish yourself and then say it? Or like,
Yeah.
what's like your way of doing it, your personal way of doing it?
Okay, so I remember talking to Justin Beth about this when he visited in 2019. And I was like, the first few times we went into a room, we were not wearing a Green Party shirt. Like, we were not like there as Green Party people. We were just there as regular people because we care about these issues. And then later on, they would discover we're in the Green Party. Like, if we had been going for a while, then it's like, okay, we can wear a Green Party. Like, we can be coming out as a Green, So we were aware that there was a lot of stigma. So we wanted people to meet us as ourselves, not as their Green like idea, their idea of Green. So that kind of changed their idea of the Green. And the other thing I'll say is that the biggest way to cut through that stigma is to like face-to-face conversation, because that stigma is created by like millions of dollars of Democratic Party propaganda, right? But and their commercials and like mailers, like they sent out mailers in Pennsylvania about the Green Party. The only way to cut through that BS is like by like personal, like meet them personally, you know? And whether that's like a door knocker at the door, you know, or like in an activist meeting or something like that. But there was no way we could compete with the air campaign, you know? So we just tried to beat it with a ground campaign, I guess. Yeah. So but we're very aware of the stigma, and it definitely was a thing in Pittsburgh, that there was a stigma. And it's, you know, part of it is earned. Part of it is earned, right? So we got to acknowledge that too. The stigma built up for a reason sometimes, but also Democrats invested millions of dollars into creating that stigma too.
I'm always like pretty open about it, but I don't try to convert anybody until like they know me. Like I'll mention it when it's relevant, but I don't like get into the spiel unless anyone asks me to most of the time. Sometimes I do, but not usually. It's better to not usually.
And I'll just add, I think showing up for people's things and demonstrating that we care about something physically helps too, because they know we care about their thing and we're consistent.
We probably gotta like move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no question.
We'll come back. We'll have time for questions at the end.
2022, 2023, this was like our burnt out era where we didn't really do much. We talked about a lot of things we wanted to do. We had a really strong governor ticket. We'll go through the slides. I like this picture. It looks like a Soviet propaganda picture to me. Yeah, so Christina DeJulio and Michael Bagtus Canning ran for governor and lieutenant governor respectively. We were not prepared to support a governor campaign, and so it kind of just fell to, again, like a dozen super volunteers to get all the signatures to get them on the ballot. And then we couldn't do much else for them besides that, which ended with us, you know, not getting 1% of the vote, which is what we needed in that election to maintain our recognition as a political party. So I guess the lesson there is that, you know, you can have the greatest candidates in the world, but if you don't have the infrastructure to support them, it doesn't really mean much.
And they were awesome. Yeah, they were really well respected in the activist community. Like they're both from like the environmental angle, but they're also engaged with other fights too.
Michael Bagtus Canning is the guy from a couple slides ago.
What else can we say about that? Yeah, okay, what does it mean the state party wasn't prepared? We have like state teams, they were not functioning. Our other county parties were not really active. So that's kind of what it looked like. Like we had to gather like maybe 10,000 signatures or 7,000 or something like that. And we probably gathered like 5,000 of them in Allegheny.
Tara got reelected unopposed. This time she was listed as a green on the ballot. Throughout her 2 terms, she's spearheaded increased library funding, more affordable housing, especially for seniors. She kind of led the charge on the successful push in Edgewood to ban single-use plastic bags. But we have not really been able to provide her with the support that she deserves. And we've talked a lot about deep canvassing in Edgewood. We have never really been able to muster up the organizational strength to do it.
For a little bit, we started meeting with her, like our executive committee was meeting with her like once a quarter, and that was some progress. But I think the takeaway here is like Greens think a lot about electing candidates, but we're so far from electing candidates, we don't think that much about governance, you know? And governance, like I started realizing like getting someone elected is easier than having them govern well, you know? And it's like these council people are like volunteers, basically. They don't get any money. They're committing a large part of their life to go to these council meetings. They have no resources. Like it's really hard to get something done as an elected official by yourself, you know? And this town is like 5,000 people. So I don't know, maybe like, you know, 1,000 people voted or something like that, you know? But yeah, like she did all those things mostly by herself. We did help actually with the affordable housing thing a lot. Like we turned out people to go to the council meeting to bully the other council members because the other council members were like, affordable housing, I don't know. They're literally going to vote it down. Like it was like ridiculous. It was crazy. They need to do like a rezoning so that this affordable housing developer can like pay their own money to put in this affordable housing. And like, I would say our work flipped that vote completely. So that was really big because people were like, are you seriously gonna vote against this? We turned out like 20 people to their council, which was like really scary for them.
Yeah, we had that coalition that supported Connor Mulvaney, got behind the independent county council campaigns of Carl Redwood and Sam Schmidt. They both ran as independents. Carl Redwood was a registered Green. I think he still is, for this campaign. Sam Schmidt's like a supporter. I think what they said in the endorsement meeting is that they felt they hadn't been involved enough to like deserve to be registered Green. And then also, this is a whole thing that we're not gonna get into, but incumbent councilwoman Liv Bennett did seek our endorsement and we did endorse her and then she withdrew.
After we gathered a bunch of signatures, actually.
After we gathered a bunch of signatures and had a much debate within the party about it. County council seats are really big. They're bigger than state rep seats in Allegheny County. We did not have the resources for this. DSA did not have the resources for this. And DSA was like, if anything, the one spearheading this. We were like the junior partner this time, and DSA didn't even like have the resources to make much of a dent. I don't think either of them made it to even like 20%, did they? Were both
A
like
bunch of unions were involved too.
yeah, a bunch of unions supported them, a bunch of incumbent council people supported them. They did not do well. Carl raised $100,000. That was pretty cool. It was like the first major electoral campaign we supported, but we're not like at the forefront of, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. But also this was during our burnt out time. So
Yeah.
we probably did like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like how many hours of door knocking. We did like a few really big events where a bunch of Greens came out. We turned out a bunch of people for them. But we probably could have given more if we were less burnt out.
This is pictures of us.
All right, this is like something that we do regularly. I don't know, for a while we were doing it like multiple times a month, a week. No, like multiple times a month. Yeah, like honestly, we were getting up to like 8 times a month or something like that. Because there's like a weekly farmers market, we were at both markets, we were getting a little out of control. But it's been helpful. It's been helpful to keep ourselves out there. It's been really helpful to get like new people involved with things. It takes a lot of logistical work to get done. You know, there's like different shifts and all that stuff. But it's good, and it was really good when we're petitioning. Really good when we're petitioning, especially when we're like expected to be there, you know, almost. Yeah. All right, those are lessons from this era.
Key lessons: don't run campaigns you aren't ready for. Statewide races need statewide infrastructure. Electing candidate isn't enough. We need to organize the constituency and provide support for the then incumbents once they're in office. And party infrastructure or lack thereof does tend to unfortunately supersede candidate quality, which really is too bad, but it is the truth. And now this is the current era that we like to think we're in. I think we're in it. I think we've earned being able to call this the rejuvenation era. Yeah. Craig, you wanna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Craig Bolton. I'm the chair of the Philadelphia Green Party. I'm also a candidate for lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. I'm from Philadelphia, historic Germantown district. And I came to the Green Party after being an independent for my entire adult life, voting Green, but as an independent. And it was 2024 where I said, after I'm just gonna start going to meetings. And I've been the chair since 2025. And right now, I mentioned I'm a PA lieutenant governor candidate. I'm running with Tony Dastra, who's at home right now, sort of shoring up our signatures. Now, for me, this campaign is to unite our party and our state around our common interests, despite any kind of party affiliations. Those common interests, rural or urban, conservative or progressive or liberal, data centers, healthcare monopolies and healthcare access, and cost of living, these things that do affect everyone. Now, these are things that are not being brought up by Republicans or Democrats. And the idea of this campaign, one major reason I'm in it is we're going to force these conversations and make PA leadership take account for their participation and basically ignoring the issue of data centers in particular, but all these things. So this, we're speaking about like complicity. No one's arguing these things, and at the very least, we know that the Green Party's had a history of being able to elevate these issues that neither Republicans or Democrats were talking about. The Green New Deal comes to mind. Our website is dasher4pa.org, and I'm going to encourage everyone to try to follow our Instagram as well. This is dasher4pa. We're also still accepting donations, and right now still gathering signatures. Now, I'm really grateful for the support that we've gotten in Philly and for the campaign from the state and the counties. I've only been doing officially involved since 2025. And a lot of the issues that you all were facing, I'm kind of starting to see. And I love the infrastructure that's already there. Yeah, and I'm already learning a ton about data centers. I'm really here. I'm looking forward to the rest of this campaign or the rest of this convention. And don't forget, Dasher for PA, please donate if you can. I know there's gonna be a lot of asks, but if you're so inclined and you like Pennsylvania, Dasher for PA. Wonderful, thanks all.
Yeah, so we have formalized our committees as part of like kind of our restructuring rejuvenation project. Oh, keep going. Yeah, it's useful for organizing and like delegating tasks effectively. I think it's been worth it. It's been a little bit rocky getting started, but you know, we're still getting used to it. I'm glad we did it, and I'm not just saying that because I wrote the proposal. Any thoughts?
This was a Zoom committee meeting that we had, our outreach committee. It's a good place for newer members to get involved when they're meeting regularly and doing things. But yeah, it can kind of phase in and out depending on the energy of the committee leader, you know? It's easy to fall off sometimes of scheduling regular meetings and keeping them going. My hot take is that every 2 weeks is too often. It's unsustainable. I think it's gotta be once a month, but not everyone agrees with me, but that's just my hot take, but that's from my experience.
We had an office for a while.
Yeah, that was cool.
You know,
We had a bunch of events there, did a lot of socials, did co-working there. We had like Jill Stein when she came to Pittsburgh, there was like an event at it. This is a watch party, from one of our local activists had this web event. Yeah, I think we had some fundraisers. I think our take, so we had this office for free, right? Our take is we would not get an office now. We thought it was nice to have, and it pushed us to use it more often. But I think if we were gonna do a big spend, I think we're leaning towards like a part-time organizer rather than an office. And now something we were really debating, and we were asking like some of the older activists in our area, like if you had to choose, which would you get first? And I think the lean was organizer before office. Yeah. But it was cool for the moment, and it was nice to have a home and to store our stuff. Socials, yeah, we were really big about having socials. That's really big for building our party. For a while, instead of like planning socials, I did what I call like the lazy social, where it was like every 2 months, every even month, on the third Tuesday of every even month, we had a social. And then when that date was coming up, we'd be like, oh shit, what should that social be? But because it was like, we had a date set, we're like, okay, we're gonna go to this bar. We're gonna go to this restaurant, or we went to an arcade once or something, I don't know. Oh, that's what that bottom picture is. But it forced us to keep that, we kept that schedule. It was, yeah, every 2 months, they would come around and be like, shit, we gotta do another social. And then we would have a great time, you know? Sometimes like 3 people would come. But in general, we did the direct one-to-one outreach, and when we did, it was a like fantastic event. Also, like after protests, we like to go get a bite, you know, or something like that. Yeah. Train trips. There's a big group discount for Amtrak. This has transformed our state party meetings. we were kind of like, we don't want to go to state party meetings because no one else is going. But now it's like we're making a trip out of it and we stay the night. So we're like, we had good turnout at our state party meetings. And it's frankly because of the train trips. And that's caused the turnout from the other parts of the state for like, they want to come now because we're going to be there.
Is that the monthly state meeting or is that an annual?
Quarterly.
Our state meeting meets 5 times a year and 2 of them are in person. Our state party. Yeah, because most of our work is happening on the county level. Yeah.
So this is some of the stuff that we're like planning through, for the rest of the year and into next year. We've hired someone to help organize, drag show fundraisers. It's kind of a space that like no other political entity is in right now. A lot of those performers already know us and like us. So yeah, we thought it would be cool. So I guess we'll keep you posted on how that goes. Target to win, I think I had a slide about this, but we didn't keep it in.
Oh.
Or maybe it's coming up. If it is, I'll get to it. It's the Green Party of England and Wales project, if you're following that. And then we're gonna do more tabling. We're gonna do some campaign staff trainings to prepare for local winnable races next year. And we're gonna do some more committee work organizing. Yes, so Target to Win, model used by Green Party of England and Wales. Basically, you make newsletters for a really small area and you drop the newsletter off every couple months. And then after you've done that a couple times, you start deep canvassing and talking to people once they've become kind of familiar with you. And then once you've talked to them and they've like known you on a more personal level, that's when you start running candidates and like making asks of the voters. And we just actually did finish our new newsletter, our first newsletter that we're gonna pass out. So this is pretty exciting. We've been talking about doing it for a while and now it's all started happening. We've some do's and don'ts.
Long way. Take a picture. Take a picture.
Yeah, just take a picture. We're not gonna
We're running out of time here.
We don't have time for this.
Pick your favorite.
Okay.
Not now.
My favorite do is to create SMART goals that you can track the progress of. And my favorite don't is don't antagonize other organizations if you don't have to. But if you do have to, knock yourself out. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I totally.
Yeah, unwinnable seats. I think that's the one we're kind of learning about, like what is winnable, right? When we see local elections, like we even think a city council race is like maybe pushing too far. We're talking about like borough council. Like, there's lots of boroughs in Allegheny County. There's no attention paid to them, which is kind of a boon for us. They're like, 4,000 people, a couple hundred, 1,000 votes, something like that.
Things we have come to believe. Yeah.
Two favorites.
My 2 favorites are we can't waste time and energy debunking the spoiler argument. We just have to show up and prove it wrong by winning. And if you're running for Congress, please run for something you can win for first, because we really need these high quality candidates who are running for Congress to run and win so that we can start governing, and then we can run for Congress and then we can win those seats.
We haven't run a single candidate for Congress this entire 10 years.
And this is a helpful flow chart about if you're wondering whether to run for an office or not. Yeah.
You go back to the other slide real quick.
Oh, yeah.
We do have a question when you guys are ready for it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should, oh no, there's a last slide.
Yeah.
You just said.
And we can go over a
This-
little bit.
Everyone's good if we move on from this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone need to take a picture of this?
Sure.
I
love the.
We put a lot of work into this.
Yeah, I spent at least 20 minutes just trying to get it all to fit on one page.
Find ways to share that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the last slide. Basically, all of this stuff we're doing, and it's like, there's a lot we didn't cover. Like a lot that, just looking through the photos from the past 10 years, I was like, holy shit, like we've done so much stuff that I totally forgot about. And it's also like very electorally focused. I would say our balance wasn't exactly that, but it's like less electorally focused in actual practice. But the key for all of that stuff though is these meetings. So like these are all pictures from meetings that we've had over the past 10 years. Some of them are from conventions, a lot of them are on Zoom. But like that was kind of like the lifeblood of the work we were doing. So 5 state party meetings a year. And honestly, for a while, we're like, we shouldn't even go to these. These are a waste of our time. But that time has passed, which is good. And then 1 county party a month. And then we had committee meetings like between those like the countywide party. But consistently doing that meeting schedule was extremely helpful. Okay, this is the last slide, so.
Well, so you have a question?
Yeah, we do have a question from Belinda. If you are there, I'm gonna allow you to talk, ask you to unmute. Oh, whoops, wrong one.
Now I actually have access, but I'm sorry, my question was way earlier and I didn't have access then. So I really have none now, except to say, we're going to definitely have to share this at Green Party of Philadelphia meetings, because this was really a marvelous and helpful presentation. So thanks so much, guys.
Also, are you guys on Eventi?
Yes.
Okay, you can upload your slides to Eventi. I know the last presenter did the same thing because everybody wanted her slides as well. So maybe that could be an option for everybody in here if you guys are on it.
Yeah, I think we could do that. I'm like, is there anything we don't want?
Yeah.
Okay, in the back.
No, Gloria.
Okay,
Yeah, there's no time to cover all the things I want to say. It was excellent.
we got 4 days.
Yes, well, so it's excellent, and I think that I'd like to invite the 2 of you, and anybody else, to maybe start having some conversations here and somewhere else. This needs to be, and maybe you want to tweak it a bit, but this needs to be put out there, its own webinar that we will put out in the National Party. And I think that we should try to find a way to gently, comradely say that parties should do this, like parties, the county parties, the state parties, and think this kind of analysis, looking at their balance sheet, what went well, what didn't go well. I completely agree. We can't tell Greens what to do anywhere, right? And there's a lot of similarities in the ups and downs in New York, which I'd like to discuss separately, we discussed before. But, this idea that some of the important things you said, like don't wake up in the morning and say, because I want to talk about Gaza, or I want to talk about Iran, or I want to talk about this, so I should run for Congress. Like, that's not a reason to do that. And Greens really like to do that. And when you see what you did, in terms of locally, getting local people elected, we're pushing that. I do see you're running the statewide campaign again, even though you feel like the capacity, you're still working towards that capacity, right, for governor, lieutenant governor. And just the idea that we have so much potential, but I think the reality sometimes for some of us, many of us, is that we can't stay in that. Like, what's our capacity to do that? And so there are a lot of other things I wrote down, but we can have a conversation about that because I think it's really valuable. I think there's some wonderful things going on out there locally, and we don't know enough about them because a lot of focus gets put on these kind of national things. And just the other thing about it, you were right. It's important to have the national party endorse things around bigger events, but it is hard to make people show up. And maybe we think a little bit more about when that happens. We tried very hard. New York tried to come to some things too. But it's a lot for people to say, because the national party is endorsing all these events in DC, which were so frequent for a while, that we can actually get people there.
Yeah.
Now, there are Greens that live closer, but it's not up to me to say.
Okay, yeah, back there.
So tough question, but with all this energy and the leadership time and energy that you all have put in, were you doing full-time jobs at the same time? How
Yes.
did you guys,
Right.
how much of your, did you have just post 40-hour-a-week availability?
I'll say no, especially during COVID. Things really slowed down when COVID began. But yeah, I am lucky to work at a job where it can make a little bit of room for some of this other stuff. But like, in my room, I mean like me being on a spreadsheet, like during my work day, like a Green Party spreadsheet. So there's definitely some advantage there.
Yes or no to being on the Green Party spreadsheet.
Yes, like I was working a full-time job, which is important because otherwise I couldn't live. And I was doing, like working on the Green Party spreadsheet during my work hours, which I set myself. I set my own work hours.
And they do it, your employers don't.
No.
It's a good thing it's just going.
Yeah, what about you? Ryan,
Oh, yeah, I was in high school when this started, so I was not working full-time then, and then I've been a full-time college student pretty much ever since. So no,
And it's impacting his availability.
it has impacted my availability in a positive way.
What?
Yeah, that I've been like,
Saying you're busy.
well, I'm busy, but I'm not like working 40 hours a week all the time, right? Like it's given me a little bit more wiggle room.
Okay, some other members of our county party.
I just want to say that I was a virologist working on coronavirus research 60 hours a week and still I managed to put time in, so.
He was on the Zoom. I
Shut up there.
having on the Zoom.
Yeah, they're like, and then, I am now full-time employed and I was full-time employed in 2018 and 2019 when I started. In 2020, I made the decision at the end of 2019 to take a break and be unemployed, and then COVID happened, which was not great timing. But it was great timing to get very involved in a campaign. So I was not working full-time when I got very involved in that campaign. And I think that's part of, for me, what led to 2020 and 2021 was the blaze, and then 2022 was the burnout. I had to get a job in 2021, and then I was like, I can't do both of these things.
One thing I'll just say real quick is I think success with Green Party is like a perfect storm. And part of that is having someone who has the time and energy to put in. And that can be really hard with, well, one, a lot of dedicated activists are already really busy with their activism. But two, like family, school, work, like lots of people can't put in the time they would need to get something off the ground or get something revived. And that is something that is real, I gotta recognize that. Okay, in the front, yes, Matt. Yeah, I'm not trying to
speak
come-
more on this. I'm a newer member of the Green Party of Allegheny County, and so I've been to only a handful of meetings so far. But the burnout is a real conversation that they have that I feel like could be covered more if this presentation were to expand, because it's definitely prevalent, but it's also something that they're trying to work through. And it's still in the process of, or at least to me, I think, it's still in the process of like finding that balance and figuring out how to manage it between people. And Riley at one point made the decision to implement, and it got voted through, to implement committees and have them more structured, which I think is now the first step towards working on that burnout and maybe taking some of the pressure off of just one person and trying to figure out a way to organize it.
And what
sorry.
what type of committees?
Outreach, communications, finance, Green Wave. There's like electoral committee. Those are our 4 committees.
We do have to go to dinner. Dinner stops being served at 6:30, so we'll take 2 last questions right here. No, you don't want to go anymore. Just put it on the back and then we'll be. Yeah, it is 6 to 7, but they stop serving you at 6:30. It says on that.
I headed Jill's petition drive in Virginia, 2024. I'm not gonna lie. I had to put through a lot of vacation time. And I was getting, it was this thing I was close to retirement. I had retired at the end of, like 5 months after after the election. And I was really burned out.
Yeah.
And let's just say that, during the course of the petition drive, I saw some pretty serious depression, partly over Gaza, and partly because I was afraid it would get succeed. And there was an exchange of profanity with the National Ballot Access Coordinator for Jill. And why should have told him to go fuck himself? Yes.
One thing I'll just say real quick, the issues that, like, the federal issues are really urgent. So I see why people would want to like run on those issues. But it's like, yeah, it feels like we have to do something right now and that the need is there, right? It's just sort of like, I guess we've seen people in that mode for a lot of different things, and it's sort of like, it's hard to build like that, I guess. That's my feeling about that.
And like, we can impact those national issues at a very local level in many cases. Like your state government is probably giving money to the IDF in some capacity. Your local police are probably training with the IDF. So if you want to impact something like that at the local level, that's how you do it.
Okay, I'm just gonna say one last thing and we'll wrap.
Sure. Have you ever been able to coordinate the organizing and the electoral in a way that they feed into each other and do, even if it's like congressional campaigns or like a higher scale, that still position you for lower offices or vice versa? And what do you think of those type of dynamics?
I think just the closest thing I'll say is, we find that the electoralism can reach people, like they can understand it, and we can bring them into more of the action side of things. I think that's the closest I'll say. Yeah. Okay, I guess that's it. There's a lot we can talk about. We'll be here all weekend. Thank you for having us. I'm sorry for going over.
No, you're. You guys are literally me and Sophia were I was the vice chair, she was chair.
Yeah.
We tried to literally everything that you, especially roadblocks. Thank you for making it.
You were lucky to not make a lot of roadblocks. Our roadblocks are like fading out. So that was. Because I know that there are real roadblocks. I'll do my number, I'll do my Instagram. Thank you so much.
You guys need help, don't make here.
Yes. Hey, I'm